What's up, Light Bears? Welcome to Light Tap, a Vivised podcast. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Emily.
And today we're going to be talking about
relationship versus religion.
That is right. And so before we dive into this topic that we have a lot to say about it, we're going to give our usual disclaimer. And that is that the name of this podcast is Light Tap. And the reason why is because we're literally giving just a light tap into this conversation. If you are wanting something deeper, if you want something like, what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this word? ¿Qué significa en otros idiomas, en el hebreo, en griego, en lo que sea? Entonces, this is a perfect time for you guys to open up your Bibles and do your homework.
Yeah.
Let the Holy Spirit reveal Himself y qué es lo que te quiere decir a ti a través de esta palabra. But if you want to listen to our light tap conversation, then welcome. Also, before we start, our Vivid set that we have on, mine is the lavender bear good fruit. This is actually both of ours is limited edition collection. So once we run out, that's it. We don't have any more. But mine is a hoodie. This is like super lightweight. It has bear good fruit all down the sleeves. And Emily has our planted shirt. Dice planted ahí en un side with the verse, and then in the back it has planted going down. And so again, these are limited edition collections. If you want to shop any of these pieces, you can go to shopviviset.com and get yours there. So today we're gonna go ahead and jump right in, and we're gonna read our verses. Emily will read her verse in English, and then I'll read it in Spanish.
And today we're gonna be reading from John 1:11 through 12. It states, "He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God."
En español, nuestro versículo es Juan 1, del 11 al 12. Dice, la palabra vino a vivir a este mundo, pero su pueblo no lo aceptó. Pero aquellos que lo aceptaron y creyeron en ella, llegaron a ser hijos de Dios. So, Emily.
Yes.
¿Estás lista para mi primera pregunta?
Hit me.
Okay, so have you ever been in a situation where, because nosotros hablamos bastante de eso, tú creciste en la iglesia, tú sabes bastante, estuviste involucradas con las maestras.
Don't mean I know it all, but I know a lot.
Exactly, sabes bastante. Entonces, have you ever been in a position de que, because you know so much, or you think you know certain scriptures, porque vamos a ser realistas, right? A veces uno dice, en tal versículo dice esto y esto y esto, y es como que, yeah, close, but not exactly. Entonces, have you ever been in a situation donde tú pensás que sabes algo, and then once you actually have a relationship with Christ, once you have built that relationship with Christ, te das cuenta de lo que tú sabías it was a little off.
Yes. I remember this one specific moment where I was like in high school, and I remember growing up, obviously, you learn certain things, and we're all learning the same information from different people, and different people put their own opinions and spins into it, right? So you gotta be careful with what you learn.
Who you hear it from.
Yeah, so I remember this one time, one of my high school friends, she was like, hey, like, I know you're Christian and all cool, but I want to know, because I remember now, it's because prom and homecoming was coming up. I went to homecoming. I did not go to prom.
Why?
No, it just wasn't for me back then. And I remember she asked me, she was like, I know you're Christian and that's great and all, but do you listen to secular music? And she was like, secular music, as in like, nah, like holy, right? Great. So I was like, I don't. But I had remembered there was this one preaching that they gave us. They were like, toda música es inspirada por Dios, which is like all music
That's
is
what
inspired.
You remember from the preaching.
From the preaching.
It wasn't like verbatim, like
no,
but that's what you remembered.
Yeah, and I was really young, so I don't remember the whole preaching. I just remember like that's like the main thing that people talked about.
Yeah, the main idea.
Yeah, and I think back and I'm like, a lot of people kept repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I'm pretty sure some of our listeners have heard that before, where they're like, all music is inspired by God. So I remember I was like, well, I'm gonna go ask my leader. Let me go ask my young adults. Yeah, my young adults leader. So I went up and I asked him. I was like, "Hey, so like, I know we say that all music is inspired by God. So is secular music still considered inspired, or is it like, is it okay or is it bad to listen to it? You know, whether it's with the bad or good or bad intention.
Puede ser bachata, reggaeton, or it could go as in like orchestra and like classical music
and jazz and instrumental. So those are my questions because some people that know me, like I was in orchestra for 4 years. So I'm really into jazz, instrumental, and like orchestral music. So he said, no, like it's not bad. Yes, all music is inspired. It's technically not bad to listen to it. And I was like, okay, my mom taught me, don't just stick to what you hear.
Get a second opinion.
Get a second opinion and do your research.
That doesn't just go into healthcare. That goes into spiritual care.
Exactly. Telling our patients, go get a second opinion.
Exactly.
So this applies here too.
Yes. Get a second opinion when it comes to the spiritual care too.
And apart from my leaders, of course, like, hello, I have a teacher in my house.
Exactly.
So I was like, Mom, I have a question for you. And I remember asking her, she was just like, yes and no. She's like, yes, all music is inspired by God, but people put their own spins into it and they twist it. So just because they like it's music doesn't mean that it's food for your soul. It doesn't mean that it's gonna ayudarte en tu crecimiento con Dios. So is it worth hearing it? No. It's most likely a waste of time. And I was like, oh dang. So she was like, yeah, like all these instruments, just because they're being used in secular music doesn't mean that they're bad instruments.
Exactly.
And I was like, that makes sense. Because I mean, 1 minute you're going to be hearing like, there's this really famous like violinist on Instagram. His name is Dominique. And like beautiful music. But he'll be playing like breaking down all the way down, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Does he have curly hair?
I don't remember, but he's
a wedding violinist.
Yes, he's a wedding violinist.
I think I know who you're talking about. And so I think I follow him actually.
I think I did too.
And I think like he'd be playing like some reggaeton songs at weddings, but it's like through a violin. So no se escucha como que si fuera reggaeton. But when you know those songs, you like,
recognize them and you start jamming out.
Cantando algo que yo
So I was like, oh my God, like that makes sense. Like, yes, it's the same. I don't want to say in the same genre, but like you're using the same instruments. Everyone has a voice. Everybody like has like their hands, whatever. But they're used for different purposes.
The intention,
and they're not. The intention isn't to worship God. It's to make you feel something, move your body, or express like who knows, right? It could be a love, it could be anger, it could be sadness, it could be joy, whatever. But it's not towards God.
I think music in general, like we talk a lot about music stuff here.
I think it's because we're both really
into music stuff, right?
Music,
it's crazy because I follow this guy on Instagram. I don't remember his username, but he did break down what is the influence behind music, and it talks about different sound waves and things like that. And so he basically kind of breaks it down to like the different types of sound waves that producers put into this music and what they align together and what they put together, then what causes or what effects would it have on the human brain. And so a lot of like lo que es como considerado bueno, se puede decir, o que tiene buenos efectos para la human brain, se ha visto bastante in when it comes to classical music, que viene siendo como string instruments. Pero obviamente vivimos, I mean, and that's what he talks about, and I mean, that's up to everybody's discretion, I guess, you know, how they want to see that. In my opinion, yes, Bible talks about string instruments. Se puede ver como David, you know, that he used to play the, no me acuerdo cómo se llamaba. Creo que there's a different word for it, but it's similar to a harp. It's similar to a harp. It was a string instrument. And so, we can use each other's, I guess, discretion, I guess, on that. Pero I just want to clarify that. Because I know that some people maybe out there are experts in music que te pueden decir, actually, it's not just intention. It's also like what kind of sound waves you put together and then what effects it does on the body. Which, yes, pero también, you know, I like to hear more upbeat music. A mí no me gusta nada más escuchar classical music.
Yeah.
Pero también yo sé, like, the people behind it, the producers behind the music that I'm listening to, I know they're godly people, and I know that su intention is to glorify God through whatever genre. And so we choose to listen to them.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, dependiendo de los sound waves y toda la cosa. Okay? Just because we don't want to get into that. Like, we don't know it all about music. We don't know it all about everything. Pero it's up to your discretion.
So yeah.
So that's like when you have a relationship with Christ, you're able to like figure these things out, right? Or whenever you have a relationship with somebody who's wise counsel to you, y te puede decir like, hey, actually, there is some truth to what they told you, but le faltó un piece.
there was a missing part there.
Yes.
So yeah, so that was my experience where I was like, I was taught something and I believed it for so long that like it was kind of hard for me to like go back and be like, wait a minute, like now I have to question what I have been taught. And it wasn't that it was taught wrong. It was just that it wasn't fully explained.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, certain things that you're gonna learn, you're gonna have to relearn, because the same thing that you learned when you were like 5 years old, 10 years old, you're not gonna have the same lesson when you're 20, 25 years old. It's not gonna be the same lesson anymore.
And even like in our last episode, we were talking about growth, right? Yeah. And growth comes in all stages. And that was like the main point of that podcast. And so with that, también va en tu relationship as you are, you know, digging deep and deep and deep with your relationship with Christ or your relationship with other people, you know different things or you question different things, and there is not a problem with questioning things. And so in this podcast, religion versus relationship, right? Why does that come to be? Because lately we have been, and this is like an ongoing thing, actually, not just of late. It's like an ongoing thing where it's like we're Christian, pero es como que nos separamos.
Yeah.
Hay unos que nosotros consideramos religiosos.
Yeah.
Y otros que consideramos liberales.
And then, you know, there's
a fight between the two.
There's extremists on both sides.
Yes.
Where, like, we have the religiosos, the religious people.
Who are, like, nothing but law and rules. And, like, you have to follow it to the T. If not, you're going to hell.
Yep. And then we have the other side where they're just like, oh, well, I have God's grace and mercy.
Yes. All is like good and we can do it all. Yeah. As long as the Lord loves us and he loves us. So we can just wall out.
Exactly. Because I know he got me. He's going to forgive me every time.
And so in this particular Bible verse, and this scripture that we're talking about right now, context, when he says like la palabra vino a este mundo, pero su pueblo no la aceptó, it's talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus came to this town. Jesus came to a people, to his nation, to his, like, the chosen ones, the loved ones, and they did not accept him. And by they, it was a lot of like this little,
Pharisees,
pero the Pharisees, los filisteos.
So these were like religious teachers in the church that they were like, if
sabían.
you have any questions, if you have any concerns,
the ones to go to.
They're the ones that are going to give you the answers that you're looking for. And because they know it and they have studied, and like how we were talking about las palabras griegas and like what does it mean, things. They knew it all.
Yeah. And so these are people that like knew it from beginning to end, and they were expecting a Messiah, and they knew like what the Messiah would not be like, pero lo que tenía que tener o lo que tenía que hacer o lo que sea. Like they had like a checklist of like, this is the things that a Messiah needs to hit, right? And vino Jesus. And some things, you know, like when you're in school, y te dice, like, they're teaching you how to read. And so they give you this paragraph to read, and then they tell you like, well, what was the main idea? And the main idea is not put in that paragraph.
It's not.
It is like resumilo tú. ¿Qué es lo que tú agarraste de esto?
Yes.
What was like the main point of this whole thing
It's
that
like
you
have
read?
to use context clues to get to the main
or like
idea.
read between the lines.
Yeah.
Los fariseos didn't have a clue what that meant. There was no such thing as reading between the lines. There was no such thing as like, let's get the main idea.
You know, a good example for that, right, was like Jesus, he isn't Jesus. He went out and he spent time with sinners and people who were unclean, and they were like, how dare you, you're holy, supposedly you're not supposed to associate yourself, because they didn't believe it, but they were like, you're not supposed to associate yourselves with them, so since you are, you cannot be him.
You can't because
now that you have associated yourselves with them, now that you have touched them, now that you have sat down and spent time with them, you're no longer holy.
Exactly.
So how can you be?
Exactly, because it didn't fit that checklist, right? So they didn't even read between the lines. Y eso es lo que pasa, and that's what we're like talking about in this podcast. Religiosos versus liberales, religion versus relationship, and we'll get into why ponemos los liberales into the relationship part. Pero en esta, yo creo que ya estamos como bastante avanzados en like in age wise, and ya pasaron bastantes generaciones where there is still some religious people out there in the church, and we love you guys, you know. We love you. I'm just kidding. But we do love you, porque a la misma vez like entendemos. I would think that you mean well. Yeah. That you have good intentions, just like these Pharisees. I'm pretty sure that they felt like they were doing the right thing.
Like they were like, we are upholding what we have been taught to uphold.
Lo que dice la escritura, right? And so from that standpoint, I 100% get you. Pero que nosotros no caigamos in that box de que si no es así, estás mal.
Exactly.
Si no es así, you're going to hell. Si no es así, te vamos a crucificar y te vamos a condenar y te vamos a juzgar y te vamos a destruir in all the things.
Yeah.
Porque tampoco es así. Esos Pharisees, they knew it all, right? They knew all the things, and again, they might have had that intention of like, well, we have to uphold the scripture. Pero lo que les faltaban a ellos era el amor, la comprensión. Is that the right word in Spanish? Comprensión? Like
I think so.
The compassion, the empathy. Compasión.
Yeah.
De entender a la gente y no acusarlos y acuchillarlos and all the things.
Which is the main thing that they did. They were like, well, since you don't follow these rules and you're unclean and you're not holy and you just don't fit the mold, you are just not allowed.
Yeah, you're out.
You're not part of us. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's no coming back from this.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even accept them. They didn't give them a second chance. None of that. And we know that Dios es un Dios perdonador, con misericordia y justo, but they didn't show any of that.
Yeah. So this is where we're at right now, right? I'm pretty sure that que cada uno de nosotros que we're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, hemos experimentado in some way or somehow or sometime in our lives or in our walk with Christ and our being in church, somebody who's super religious and they like deem like even changing your hair color a sin. You know, I'm pretty sure like there's people that are like, Emily, tenés el pelo azul? You're possessed by something, or like, you know, un spirit de rebeldía se te ha metido. Like, and it's just like, no, dude, like, I just want
blue hair.
I just want blue hair that has nothing to do with my spirit. It doesn't destroy, it doesn't taint the image of Christ in me. When people see me just because I have blue hair, that doesn't automatically mean that I don't love God and I don't represent God. And so things like that, where it's like we have to understand that if we are, you know, because it doesn't just apply that que los religiosos son los más señores, because that's not true. There are some people like within our age or like quizá más jóvenes que son celosos por Dios.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. Like, yes, have that celo, right? Because we need to have that.
Yeah.
Pero al extremo, como que tampoco no. Cuando like it blinds you and starts saying things and starts like macheteando la gente, ahí ya no.
I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think you have the right to.
Exactly.
We're all sinners, okay? Let's just start there. At the end of the day, we're all sinners. So, like Jesus said, the first two, like anybody who is without sin, throw the first stone. Did somebody throw it?
No. So this can happen at any age, whatever, right? But you have to understand that if you're just gonna be like, oh, we're gonna follow these rules and that is it, period, point blank, whether you like it, whether you don't, blah blah blah, you have to also understand that in un momento you're causing some pain to somebody, and you have to understand that that's not okay either. That is not the example that Jesus nos dejó. Now, the relationship part, right?
Yes.
The point of us being Christian, it is not about religion alone. Porque no nada más vamos a descartarlo. Like it doesn't mean
that's not our main focus.
It's not. That doesn't mean that like, oh, just because our thing is to have a relationship with Christ, that doesn't mean that we are not going to follow what the Scripture says, whether it's a New Testament or the Old Testament. Porque la gente that says like all about relationships, they're like, oh, the Old Testament is just a whole bunch of rules and that doesn't apply to us. Ahorita, like en ese tiempo. No. It does apply.
Yep.
Okay? People haven't decided like que vamos a quitar the Old Testament from the Bible. It's still in there for a purpose. And so we have to still do that. But yes, the point is to have a relationship with Jesus. The point is to every single day build our relationship up with Him. Pero, have you, this is my second question.
Okay.
When you're building a relationship, ya sea que conmigo, okay, like we can talk about us. When you started building your relationship, because obviously we didn't have one, right? We talked about it, like I didn't like you, all of things. Yeah. Pero cuando ya empezamos a tener una relationship, tú empezaste, did your way of treating me change by you knowing who I am? Like, the closer that you were to me, did your way of treating me, like tratándome, right? Did it change the more that you knew me?
I wouldn't say it changed. I would say I got more relaxed. Okay. Because, obviously, like, you don't know whenever you're trying to be friends with somebody, you don't know their boundaries. You don't know what certain things may or may not offend them or trigger them or anything like that. Yeah. But I think that I still treated you the same. Yeah. I don't think I ever, like, was to the point where I was like, oh, I'm going to judge you. Oh, I see you in a different light. Now I don't like you anymore. Yeah. Or like, oh, you don't think the same way I do. Okay, that we can't be friends. Yeah. I never really got to that point, and I don't think I ever have with anybody really. At least not to the extreme, I would say. But no, I feel like the same way that I treated you back then is still the same that I treat you now.
So nothing has changed in your eyes?
Like, I mean, other than like our friendship maturing,
Yeah, okay, so like in my situation with you, right? So I knew you as like una niña, and then when we started becoming friends, ya eras como más joven. Yeah. Eras like un poco like más like, how old were you when we first started the dance team?
Oh,
like I don't 17, 18?
Maybe.
Por ahí. So like you were kind of like exiting your youth age and going into your young adult age, right? And so the way that I treated you has changed. And the reason why it has changed is because the more that I know you, the more that we spend time each weekend, the more that, we spend more time just doing things together. The way that we continue to build and grow our relationship, I am continuing, like, estoy continuando, like, aprendiendo cosas de ti. Yeah. ¿Cuáles son tus boundaries? ¿Cuáles son las cosas que yo sé que te que te pueden doler? ¿Cuáles son las cosas que yo sé que tú me permites de que yo pueda hablar contigo openly about? Yeah. And things like that. And also, it has taught me that my heart. Cuando yo te vengo a decir las cosas. Yeah. You know my intention. You know de que, like, no te voy a decir algo para dañarte. Yeah. But it's a través de our relationship that we have learned that. And so in the same way that we have that relationship, in the same way that que I have treated you different, because antes yo no te podía decir las cosas que te digo ahorita. Right? But now I know.
No, and so that's what I was talking about, the maturing part, where I was just like, I feel like we still treat each other with respect and everything, but I do feel like in the maturity aspect, like we have changed in that specific aspect.
Y por eso, en ese aspect, the way that we treat each other, como nos tratamos, entonces ya es diferente because we have all this information that we now know to make, like, en lo que vamos a hablar, cómo nos vamos a hablar, cómo nos vamos a referir o lo que sea. Now we have this context and how we do it. And so in the same way, when we have a relationship with Jesus and when we say that we have a relationship with Jesus, this is something that if we say that, you better be praying every single day. You better be, praising him every single day, spending time with him to where you actually know him. And when you know him, you know that Jesus has boundaries.
Yep.
You know that Jesus, si él mantuvo escritura, mantuvo orden, mantuvo lo que la palabra decía, también eso se aplica a nosotros.
Yep. Because if we're going to live a life, like, let's be real, if we're going to be living a life like God did, Jesus did, the example that he left us here in this world, like, let's be real, you can't just sugarcoat and be like, oh, but God understands. We're human. Exactly. Okay, wait a minute. Jesus came to this world too, and he was human too. So what's our excuse?
Yeah.
What's our excuse?
Yeah. And obviamente, we're gonna, like, have moments where we fall, donde, like, we make mistakes and all the things. And yes, we can come to him and we can say, you know what, I'm sorry, forgive me, please help me in this area. And he does. He's loving and his grace is endless. His favor is endless. We are living in tiempos de la gracia. But just because we're living in tiempos de la gracia, that doesn't mean that we have permission to do whatever we want. Okay? Yeah. Because it's not like that.
Because some people, I read a comment online on a video where somebody was saying, I will automatically say I'm of the Christian group of that very high percent that call ourselves Christians, but we're not churchgoers. I'm good because I have a relationship with God. I don't need to go to church. And I remember reading that and I was just like, I need a second. I need to reread that because what they're saying, some people are going to miss what he's saying. Yeah. And I'm like, he is very self-aware at the point that he's just like, I know that I'm doing wrong, but because I'm booty hurt, because that's what the video was about. He's like, this is my experience, and this is why I lead the life that I'm leading.
Yeah, but then but then that's still not okay though, because you go to church because there's other believers, there's other the word says that, when there's two, si uno cae, ahí está el otro para levantarlo.
Exactly.
And that is what happens in church. You build this community with people. Entonces, but yes, a lot of people are like, as long as I have a relationship with him, I don't have to follow rules. As long as I have a relationship with him, I don't have to go to church. As long as I have a relationship with him, I don't have to fully read my Bible every single day. With praying is enough because I just have a relationship with him. And it's like, ¿cómo tú vas a conocer a un Dios cuando no quieres leer de quién es este Dios?
Exactly. And you're like, I'm good, I believe. I'm fine. Like, I already said to him, I believe. But if you don't constantly work on it, like, there's more. Like, there's no end.
Yeah.
And honestly, as long as we're alive and we're breathing, there is no, I'm done learning.
Exactly.
You continue learning. Yeah. There's always something new to be learned.
Yeah. And so we're falling into these two things, right? And then it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Right? The whole point of this, the main idea of this podcast, the reading between the lines, is de que no debería de haber dos bandos.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the religious versus the liberals. It shouldn't be religion versus relationship.
It should go hand in hand.
It should go hand in hand. It should be like we are merging the two. We will have a relationship with Christ because when you have a relationship with him, Él te da los frutos del Espíritu, which is love and all the things that I'm not going to say right here because I don't remember all of them.
Like, I feel like at this point, like, in the world that we're living, it's so extreme. There, in this specific aspect, there shouldn't be no extremes. There should be a balance.
A balance, yes.
But unfortunately, people, they end up putting their own feelings and opinions into it. Where we do get these different sides. We do get these two extremes where people are like interpreting the word into their own in their own opinions and their own thoughts, to where we do end up with these two extremes where people do think, oh, it's okay to go to the club because I still believe. I know that if I get in trouble, God got me.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, God is not in the club with you.
I mean, he is. Wait, he is. Porque, okay, hold your horses. Let me tell you why he is.
Okay.
Because are we saying that is God's boundary, that he's not allowed in the club? No, he's there. Pero is he gonna cover you? Maybe not. But he's there because there is no boundaries for God. You're gonna tell me that que si vas a una cantina that he's not gonna be there, because he can be there.
Pero sales de la cobertura de Dios.
Because you decided to do something different. Exactly. You decided to do something opposite of his character.
Yes.
Opposite of what he didn't tell you to be there. You know, the thing of like wrong place, wrong time. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's like you knew better not to be in certain places, yet you still decided to. And it was like in our podcast when we were talking about libre albedrío.
Yes.
Todo me es lícito. Todo me conviene. Todo me es lícito. I can do all the things. But will they edify my Christian walk? Yes. My Christian life? Will it? So like you were saying before, right? The relearning part. A veces uno conoce o piensa que es una cosa, pero then we put too much of our opinion and our thoughts and our ways and what culture has taught us and what the majority has taught us, and we flip or we decide to ignore some scripture things because it goes against the grain, it goes against la corriente, it goes against other things, and we're like, just because we have a relationship with Christ, we're gonna ignore that part. Cuando it's like, no. A veces la palabra va a ser uncomfortable for you.
Yes.
A veces te va a doler. A veces te va a tener que
it's gonna have to put you in the hot seat. Yes. And then you're gonna have to like reanalyze and be like, okay, now what?
I was wrong. Maybe it hurts me, it pains me that I was brought this way, that I may even still think that this is okay. But at the end of the day, because I have a relationship with Jesus, because I love him, because I have decided and I'm fully committed to walk with him, then I'm going to tragarme este trago amargo and do what he said to do.
Yeah.
Even if it goes against the majority. Even if I'm at risk to get canceled from my friendship groups.
Even if I have the unpopular opinion, even if I had to cut out some friends, even if I end up losing people that I love because they don't agree with me.
Yeah. Because I decided to relearn certain things.
Yeah.
And accept that if I have a relationship with Christ and I know his boundaries.
And then I think that's like a big thing, you know, it's not such a big part, but it is a big thing where in the relationship aspect, you got to really ask yourself, am I pleasing other people? Am I trying to please myself? Or am I trying to please God?
Yes.
You got to really take a step back and be like, am I going here? Am I making these choices? Am I keeping these friendships because they're beneficial to me, because I want to? Are they going to help me at the end of the long run? Because let's be real, God is always going to be there for you.
Yeah.
People come in and out of your life all the time.
Yeah.
But God will never desert you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. And then even like there's a scripture in the Bible donde dice de que carga tu cruz y sígueme. Like, die to yourself, carry your cross, and follow me. There was like 3 things that you had to do, right? First, die to yourself. To yourself. Tienes que morir a ti mismo. Die to your thoughts. Die to your opinions. Die to what you thought was the thing. Die to whatever your flesh wants to do. Die to that. Pick up your cross, meaning like, I'm going to pick you up, Jesus. I'm going to pick up this sacrifice that you did for me, Jesus. I'm going to fully accept you, Jesus. I'm going to walk your same walk, Jesus. Yes. I'm going to completely, and then the last part is follow me.
Exactly.
Te voy a seguir a donde tú quieras. No donde yo quiera, porque yo quiero ir al club. Yo quiero ir a, bachata all night long. And that's lo que yo quiero. Pero no, a donde tú quieras que yo vaya, and that means church. That means stay your butt at home. That means quítate de esos amigos. That means, plant yourself somewhere. Ahí es donde voy a ir. So, we're going to move on to our next part of our podcast, and that is, Am I the Asshole? Wait. Un momento before we move there, because this story is going to tie into this little part. That's why I want to kind of talk about it. Que al final de estos versículos, it says that those who accepted him, Jesus gave them the right to become children of God.
Oh, yes.
And so llegaron a ser hijos de Dios. That is a whole... If you were thinking about what kind of relationship, that's the relationship. You are the son, you are the daughter, and he is your father.
Yes.
And so think about right now the relationship that you have with your parents. If it's a bad one, maybe don't think about that one. But think about a good one, I don't know, that you want to be or that you wish you had. That is a relationship that Jesus is offering you.
Exactly.
Let me be your father. Let me protect you. Let me provide for you. Let me be your peace. Let me cover you. Let me be your joy. Let me do fun things with you because I am fun. So think about that. Okay, we're gonna come back to that after this story.
Okay, so the title for this one is, Am I the Asshole for telling my mom she needs to get over the fact that our relationship will not be the same from when I was younger? Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Okay.
¿Te acordaste de ti?
Yeah. Like, I'm a very nice person, okay? And I know nice people don't normally say that, but let me also say this. I can also be an asshole sometimes. Yeah. And I know that myself. Guess what? I am well aware of myself. And I think you're your own worst critic. And for the people that know me, I am not lovey-dovey.
Yeah.
I think I was when I was younger, except, life happens and people happen and you kind of lose the love that you kind of willingly gave.
Yeah.
You kind of like pull up these walls. So my mom has always been one where she's like, I am lovey-dovey. I want this with you. And I'm just like, I am not. I'm sorry. I'm not a little girl anymore. I'm not going to run up and just give you a random hug. If you want a hug, if I want a hug, sure. But it's not something that I'm just going to do every day, unfortunately. It hurts. It hurts because I'm like, I do want to be closer. But don't get me wrong, I am super close with my mom. There is nothing that I don't do that she doesn't already know, whether it's good or bad. At this point, there's nothing that I can really not tell her because she knows. And I do sometimes look back and I'm like, I do wish that we were closer. Intimately. Everything else were pretty close. And I remember this one time I told her this exact same thing. I was like, Mom, I'm sorry if this hurts you, but I am not little Emily anymore. I am not the little girl that you once had. I'm a whole different person. I'm a different grown up now.
I get that. But
and
as
she
a
was
parent,
like, you're still my daughter. And
no,
I was just like, yes, I am. But I'm a grown up now. Like, I'm a little bit different than like 15-year-old Emily. I'm not the same person as her.
Yeah.
I guess
I get what you're saying because I've had those conversations with my mom as well, right? Mm-hmm. She still tries to like tell me that she gonna whoop me if I don't do whatever she said. I'm like, Mom, I'm 30. I got a whole husband and a whole child. Like, girl.
Like, I got my own family to worry about.
Exactly. Like, you're not about to whoop any. But then I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she was right. I don't know. You're like, she's still my mom. I'm still low-key scared. No, but I get it, right? But from a parent standpoint, to hear your kid tell you that.
Yep.
It hurts. That is like a stab in the heart.
And that's exactly what she told me. She was like, look, little girl, I gave birth to you. I brought you when I could take you out. I was like, Mom, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. But, so am I the asshole for telling my mom? From a daughter standpoint,
yes.
No. From a mom standpoint, Yes, because
and
those
let's
words
just
hurt.
make this clear. You're saying this as a parent. I'm saying this as not a parent.
That's what I'm saying.
am a child.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if I put myself in the girl's shoes, then you're not, because you're just trying to tell her like, hey, ya estamos en otra etapa de nuestras vidas, right? You cannot treat me like I'm 5 when I'm like 20, because I'm not. You can't tell me hold my hand while I'm crossing the street, because Mom, I know to look both ways. You know what I mean? Pero from a mom to hear those words coming out of your kid, it hurts, because you love them, because you've put, you probably put your life on standby, and to do everything that you can for your kid, and for your kid que te diga eso es como que like, dang. But let's see. I don't know. Vamos a ver qué dice.
Let's see. Alrighty. So again, the title is, Am I the asshole for telling my mom she needs to get over the fact that our relationship will not be the same from when I was younger? Okay, it says, I, 16 female, have a mom who I love very much. We normally get along well. When I was younger, she and I had an agreement to never have secrets. I told her about my crushes, my school life, and what I was thinking. I never hid anything from her. Let me just say this really quick, okay? I saw this one video on Instagram about this father telling her daughter, like 6-7-year-old daughter, like, you promised me, Pinky promised me that you're never gonna have a boyfriend. She's like, Daddy, you're the only man I need. And I'm like, hold up.
That and in the comments you're not gonna keep.
And the comments were saying exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, you're telling a 6-7-year-old to make you a promise that they're not gonna keep when they're older, and you know this, and she's gonna grow up and it's gonna be like, I want a boyfriend. But you promised me. I'm not saying that that's what he would have done, but like, come on, you can't expect somebody to keep that type of promise. So just FYI, just wanted to say that, throw it out there. I don't know what she means by younger. She didn't say the age, so I'm like, if she had an agreement with her mom,
like she was in 4th grade.
Yeah, like, don't keep secrets from me. Of course, mommy, I'm gonna tell you everything. Like,
and then you're a 16-year-old now, which this girl is, and then there might be some secrets.
Exactly. Okay, so it says, this morning, me and my mom got into an argument in the car. She asked me if any of my friends drank. She knew some of them did at parties, and I said, I don't know. I actually did know, but I didn't feel comfortable telling her about their lives. I myself would never drink. I've only had a few sips of any alcohol in my life.
16, remember that?
Yes. She replied that she actually knew my friends drank, and I replied, and I asked why she had even asked me if she already knew.
Girl.
She got mad, saying that I couldn't be trusted anymore, and gave me the silent treatment for hours later until I finally got her to talk. She told me she hated that I had secrets and was yelling at me, telling me we had that bond, to which I replied that I'm 16, I have secrets, and I am not entitled to tell her everything I know about myself and all of my friends. I told her if she can't trust me to not do stuff like drinking, that's a separate issue. But if she needs to accept that I won't tell her everything anymore. She started crying and using it against me, then saying, fine, I don't have to tell you all my secrets. She literally never did that anyways. And telling me to just go or leave the house because apparently I'm old enough to now be independent, right? I can't even tell you how many times my mom has said that. And then when I say, I'm like, let's go. She's like, you're never leaving this house. She told me how all her friends have their children's passwords, but she doesn't even ask for mine. And after I replied that it was the bare minimum as a mom, she yelled at me even more, telling me I was talking back and being disrespectful. I don't believe I was, but now I'm conflicted.
I think that she's conflicted because she knows that in some way she messed up too.
Yeah.
And that is where I feel like, is she the asshole for telling her mom that? No. But if she the asshole in some of the things that she did say throughout her little speech, yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say where. So, her mom gave her the opportunity to come clean. Yeah. This is the deal that I have with my kid. And again, it goes back to relationships between parents and their kids. Yeah. I tell my kid, and I'm teaching him now, if I ask you something, even if it's hard, come clean to me.
I'm giving you a chance.
I'm giving you the opportunity to be honest with me. Because what you might tell me, I might not like, and there might be some consequences. Pero te va a ir mucho mejor de que you lied to me and I find out a different way. Because regardless, things, you can try to hide things.
And then, hold on, let's be honest. Like, if a parent is asking you something, it's because they already know.
They already know the answer. And again, we're just giving you the opportunity to come in, you know, be clean or whatever. And so I'm pretty sure that the mom, because she already knew, she just gave the daughter the opportunity, and that will determine the trust. Will I trust you to be out with your friends? Even though you're not of age. Your friends are probably not of age to be drinking. Pero if you tell me the truth, like, yeah, mom, actually they do drink, but guess what? You have taught me better, and I don't drink. Yes, they are my friends. Yes, we go to the same parties, but they do their thing and I do my thing. You did a good job. Yeah. As a parent, I'm going to be like, you told me the truth, and you me aseguraste que puedo seguir confiando en ti. Versus, oh, I don't know. And then you
now you're acting all little shady.
Because now you're acting, you're acting shady. You're acting suspicious. You're probably the main one over there drinking. And so to me, that part where it's like, that gave me a little asshole vibes. And then, but then the mom is an asshole too. And because it's not like, fine, I don't have to tell you all my secrets. Excuse me, I'm your parent. And yes, I can tell you some things, but they were, ¿cómo le voy a decir a una 16-year-old about my marriage de que quizás is going through some things?
I really do think that the mom was not only trying to parent, she was also trying to be her daughter's friend.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to separate the two. I'm not saying from experience, but I think as a parent, when you have kids, I don't think it's a good thing to involve your kids in your marriage. Or just in anything in your personal life.
In your personal life. Whether it is you going through situations like personally, like maybe you're going through a finance situation. That has nothing to do with the marriage.
A 16-year-old does not have the maturity to understand something like that.
Or to help you in that sense. Or you're putting them, you're so much extra pressure.
Exactly, because they're in a position where they're like, damn, I wish I could help you. Exactly. But it's not my responsibility. I'm a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
So there are things, I feel like, I do think that parents can be their kids' friends.
But there's got to be some boundary.
There has to be boundaries, and there has to be an age donde tú tienes que saber. I think before 18, you're your kid's parent.
Exactly.
That is your responsibility to continue to teach them to grow and to be civilized people. And cómo ellos van a ser cuando ellos sean adultos, cuando les toque a ellos tomar la batuta de ser adultos. After they're 18, after they become an adult, I think that is when you become their friends. Because ya no es tu responsabilidad si ellos se meten en problemas o no. Ya es all on them. Yep. But before then, you have to be their parent. And yes, you can be loving. I know that they're like, oh no, but I know that, the trauma that I went through with my parents. And I get that, but you can parent differently. But you still got a parent.
Exactly.
There has to be boundaries. In the same way, I feel like this is us with God. He gives us the opportunity to come clean to him.
Yep.
He gives us the opportunity to come to him and say all the things that we need to say.
Today I messed up.
Porque, let's be real, él ya lo sabe todo.
Yep.
Él ya sabe lo que vas a decir antes de que hables. And so he already knows, so might as well come clean. That's why I'm like, Lord, you saw, right? You saw what I did? That wasn't right. I know it. Like, can you, help me, please? And it's not like a manipulative thing. It's not like, si no me decís la verdad, then yo no te voy a dar esto. O yo no te voy a continue to enseñarte los secretos de life. It's more like, you just, dime toda la verdad. Porque that releases you from everything. That makes you bring all your cares and all your anxiety and all your depression and all your worries, and you're giving them to me. But yeah, in this case, I feel like everybody sucked. I feel like this little girl, I feel like she sucked by not coming clean to her mom, and being somewhat disrespectful in some things that she said. Because I mean, you're 16 and You're telling me that you know you're already ocultando de que estás bebiendo.
Like,
¿Qué más estás ocultando?
I get that she was like, I can tell you all about myself, but I don't feel comfortable telling other people's business.
No, eso ya
are
es
my
diferente.
friends' business. I understand that.
Yeah, me too.
But as a parent, if your child is hanging out with people that you don't want them to, that people are gonna put them in unsavory situations that you don't want them in, I want to know who these friends are. I want to know so you don't hang out with them anymore.
Claro, but you know
but she's not gonna understand that. She's just gonna be like, I'm not a snitch. I'm not about to rat somebody out. Yeah. That's one. It's not your kid, and it's not your business.
And then you might go tell their parents.
Exactly, and then I'm gonna look bad.
Yes.
So I see it from both sides. Where I'm like, I completely understand. I think they were both valid, but I also think they both messed up.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody sucks.
Yeah.
I think everybody sucks in that situation. And it's just how the mom handled it wasn't the best way. How the daughter handled it wasn't the best way. I think that both of them need to have like a real sit down and be like, this is how a relationship can go. This is how open we can be. Pero también hay boundaries. Hay cosas de que digamos, and as a mom, I don't need your permission. If I already know that your friends drink and I don't want that around my kid,
guess what?
I don't even have to ask you. Exactly. Like,
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, like I'm gonna say like, hey, you know, I don't want you hanging around with them. And if you do it behind my back, then that's on you. But I told you not to.
Exactly.
So this goes back again to that relationship. Nosotros llegamos a ser hijos de Dios. We are his daughters. We are his sons. And so he is our father.
Yeah.
And so when we think about these relationships that we have with parents, we have to know that our parents love us. They want the best for us. There are some parents that, you know, don't apply that to their parenting style. And I mean, que Dios, you know, help them out. Pero for the most part, as parents, we want to protect our kids. We want to provide for our kids. We want our kids to be happy. We want our kids to grow. We want our kids to learn. We want our kids to all the good things about it, right? But at the same time, we want this good relationship with them. And so today, this episode is about merging the two. Merging knowing his word, knowing his law, knowing his character, knowing his boundaries.
Yeah.
And then applying our relationship with him to where like, okay, I know that this is what our God wants and expects from us. And so I'm going to do it even if it's not cool.
Even if it's not the popular vote.
Yes.
Even if I end up losing, whether it be friendships, whether it be, you know, work or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as you are set in your beliefs and you know that this is the walk that God walked, and you follow it, then you'll be fine because God got your back.
Yeah. So los que son considerados religiosos, let's check ourselves real quick. Let's make sure that we are not just, you know, there's a part in the Bible donde dice de que I can be like un címbalo resonante, something like that. Like I can do all these things, but if I don't have love.
Yes.
Right? So let's remember that. Tú puedes hacer quizás todas las cosas, quote unquote, bien. Quizás, quote unquote, how it is and how it should be. Pero si no tenés el amor, si no tenés también misericordia con la gente, si no tenés compasión con la gente, like, you're missing the mark.
Like, it's a contradiction. You can't say you're living a life the way God did, and you're also over here being super religious and judging and shaming people when they make mistakes.
Yeah. So you got to check ourselves.
Yes.
If we fit in that box. If we fit in the other box of just being, you know, liberales and like super like just free everything. Like we're like just a free spirit and we can do it all, and we're excusing our sinful way of living with but I have a relationship with God and that's all that matters. And we got to check ourselves too, because it's not just that. The Bible is there, and we have to follow it. Jesus followed it. So if we say that we have a relationship with Jesus, then we have to follow it as well. Yeah. So on both ends, we got to check ourselves. And the whole point is that hopefully if you hear this podcast and if you feel like you're one or the other, that you can come and be like, okay, I gotta merge the two.
I gotta find a balance.
I have to find a balance. I have to find like to where I'm keeping the scripture, where I'm keeping lo que Dios dice, los mandatos de Dios y todo lo que Él dice, but I'm also having a relationship with Him, and so I know how to handle different situations in life. And so hopefully this episode really helps you.
Yeah.
Remember, do open up your Bibles and read it for yourself and study it for yourself. But yeah, that is it for today's episode. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.